Okay, so that was interesting. Now, before I get into the review of episode 2, an update to my personal update from the end of last video, and that is I have my new crown, and as you can see, I look the same, I talk the same, because I did need to actually use anesthetic. And I probably remember needing anesthetic because my last crown, this is my second, my last crown, I wussed out and insisted they give me Novocaine when it wasn't necessary because I let my fear dictate what happens to my mouth. This time I'm like, throw caution to the wind. It seems like it's a normal thing to not use anesthetic. Great. So yeah, and I was in and out in like 10, 15 minutes. It didn't take long at all. So my mouth is just fine. Okay, now let's get into this very interesting episode 2. Now, I'm loving the interpersonal dynamics of all the characters. I think the chemistry is wonderful and they all play off each other so well. The plot, however, is a bit thin. So, I really liked how cool Ronnie was with Natalie, which by the end of this episode, Riri was a bit more chill about the fact that her dead best friend is now her AI. And I felt so bad for Ronnie that she wanted her husband back. You know, she wanted Riri to create an AI version of her husband, of her stepfather, of Riri's stepfather. Which leads me, now she said, sorry, I can't because of how this works. But it makes me wonder if by the end of this, especially since Joe was flat out, it's not possible, your brain will melt. It makes me wonder if they aren't going to find a way, maybe towards the end of the season, since it's only 6 episodes, that they'll find a way to recreate Gary. Maybe it'll happen earlier, but it sounds like it's something that would, if it does happen, would happen towards the end of the series. So, their first heist, I mean, really, you couldn't think of anything better. I get it, this is supposed to be comical, but seriously, this is just simply them showing off their resume so they could all be put on the payroll of Tunnel. I can see why this is being binge dropped. 3 episodes this week, 3 episodes next week. Because the hell? You couldn't come up with a better concept? We are dealing with the Hood. And this is the best you could come up with? Now, I appreciate that the Hood promised Riri that nobody would get hurt. And that indeed happened. I mean, even though he shot that security guard, because Natalie froze. And of course she froze, and Riri should freaking know that of course she froze. I mean, this AI version of Natalie might not understand, but if she was killed, and I assume by a gun, of course a gun is going to freak her out. I mean, come on. So that checks out. Um, so yeah, I'm thinking that somehow either Riri or Joe are going to figure out a way how to recreate Gary. Obviously, it would make more sense for Riri to do it simply because well, that was her stepfather. I mean, maybe it's possible that it doesn't take a super genius like Riri to do this. So it's possible that she might have Ronnie map out her own AI. Now, what they would attach him to, like Natalie's attached to the suit. So, what they would attach Gary to, not a clue. But I'm thinking that they would, I mean, I guess it could be just simply that, Ronnie wants her husband back, which, I totally get it. My dad died end of December last year. So I totally get, you know, you see somebody else basically recreating someone who has died, and you're like, why can't I have that? So I do get it. Um, so yeah, I definitely get that. So it's possible it's just someone who's still grieving. Because, like I said, she seemed pretty cool about Natalie showing up. So, or it, or this could be foreshadowing of bringing Gary into the fold. Now, if they do that, I'm not aware of him being a character in the comics. I mean, a character, but not an AI. Natalie, yes, but I don't think her stepfather is. I could be wrong. So, but yeah, I would love to see Gary as well. Let's see. So, do we have a origin story for a villain? Because Riri tracks that, well, Natalie, with the help of Natalie, tracks down Joe McGillicuddy, which they decide is a fake name, and that he's on the black market list. So she goes to Evanston, and and this is still Illinois, not Indiana. This is still Illinois. And he mentions his father, but nobody basically asks, who's your dad? And I believe that is supposed to be a big twist, a big reveal. And yes, I do know, in fact, who he is, but I'm really, really trying not to spoil further on down the line. Trying very hard not to do that. So, um, so she convinces him he has to stand up for himself. Now, for some reason, his neighbor has decided. Now, I don't know if she just dislikes him, if she has the hots for him, and she's trying to get him to interact with her because any attention is good. I'm really not sure what her deal is, but for some reason, she thinks that her dog shitting in his yard is preferable to hers. And obviously, she doesn't clean it up because if she did, she wouldn't care which yard he did his business in, right? Even though you, as a responsible dog owner, you really should be carrying around a poop bag for your dog because nobody wants to step in that. Anyway, so at the end, he decides to stand up for himself. She loves her flowers. I can't remember what flowers they are. They look like black-eyed Susans. But he goes into the house, and at first I thought, oh, he's not taking Riri's lesson. He's just gonna keep going. He's not gonna confront the neighbor. And he comes back with scissors. And he cuts each and every one of her precious flowers. So, I don't know. Probably not a good idea to go into an arms race with someone who, well, can create arms very, very easily. And, like the heat-seeking missiles he had under the Live, Laugh, Love sign, which for some reason he removed right before he made that turn. So, I don't know if this is a villain origin story following in his father's footsteps, or if this is just not necessarily a villain origin, but just someone who's had enough and it's like, okay, well, maybe being Mr. Goody Two Shoes isn't, that there's somewhere in the middle that I can play. Learning about the different members of the gang. At first I thought it was just simply him introducing everyone to Riri. But then he introduced Riri to everyone else. So, but the way he did it was like, let's introduce everybody to everybody. It just seemed strange. So, Slug is a former drag queen. Now, I didn't catch whether they gave his name, his drag queen name, because I would have loved, because some of the drag queens have the most awesome drag names, so I would have loved to have heard what his drag name is. Still love the eyeshadow. Loving the eyeshadow. So, I didn't quite catch it, but they were, I guess, doing crime, but it wasn't, in just to do crime. It was supposed to help out others, if I recall. So, so everybody, got their origin story, and suddenly Stuart disappeared. So I realized that Riri is supposed to be his replacement, but they didn't seem like they were going to actually give him the boot. So, but suddenly he's gone. I really wonder, Xavier is Natalie's brother. So I wonder, he said at the very end that he, wishes that, he could, spend more time reminiscing about Natalie, blah, blah, blah. I really wonder if next episode or shortly thereafter, because again, there's only 6 episodes, so they don't have a lot of time. Especially now that Riri seems to have accepted AI Natalie, if she's going to introduce AI Natalie to Xavier. Because after all, they're supposed to be siblings. And see how that dynamic goes. Let's see here. I think I mentioned that I did appreciate that the security guard wasn't killed. I think he was shot in the arm. So, that was fine. At first, I thought Natalie was glitching on purpose and that this was going to turn into something awesome. But no, she had a panic attack. And Riri doesn't seem to understand why. And it's like, and all she asked Natalie was, "What do you remember of that night?" So she understands this has something to do with how she died. But at the same time, they both don't seem to understand that she would, of course, have a panic attack about guns if that's how she died. And we still don't know what exactly, what the exact details are. Let's see, what else? I think I've pretty much covered everything I wanted to. Ironically, this was a longer episode, but less to work with. In the first episode, they used her crash landing as a way to introduce the name card of Ironheart. This time, no such thing, and I was so bummed. I really thought that was going to be an ongoing thing. That she would do something or something would happen to cause the Ironheart placard to appear. But no, it was just a one-time thing. I think I've covered everything I wanted to for this video. So with that, I will see you guys in the next one.